your city. Gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all be flying higher than a jetliner. And if you want a little bang in your yin-yang, come along.
Well, come along and welcome aboard. Thanks a lot for taking Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Quayle along for the ride, wherever you're going, whatever you may be doing. We appreciate you taking Indiana Sports Beat along here on this Thursday coming to you. We've moved the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios north. We're in Chicago, live from the Big Ten Media Days for football. I'm being joined today by Kevin Brockway from CNHI. Kevin, how are you, man?
Good morning. Yeah, very, active night last night as we rolled in here in this beautiful city and hit Buddy Guys, a little blues club. It was a lot of fun.
Just get right to it, laying it out there. Don't mess around. Great time in Chicago. Of course, had to experience a little of the Chicago nightlife, a little blues action, but the Big Ten Football Media Days getting underway. Didn't see a lot of people last night, but wasn't in the hotel a lot, but saw Jeff Brom, Purdue's coach. I think we saw Ohio State's coach, Ryan Day. And more importantly, and most importantly, today we'll be joined by Indiana coach Tom Allen here on the program. So we're looking forward to that. Looking forward to talking to Coach. It's an exciting time for IU football.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to talk about the upcoming fall camp, the quarterback competition. Will Michael Penix be ready? What kind of camp is Tom Allen going to run? He's talked about this being a camp where he's going to make it a little uncomfortable for his players. He really wants to push them hard to prepare for a season, for them to, really make that next step. 2 5-7 seasons, you're knocking on the door of a bowl bid and just can't quite get it done. And maybe this is the year with a little more talent, a little more depth, the top 40 national recruiting class coming in, that he can get that done, get to that next level.
Yeah, this is his third fall camp now, and so he's getting more acclimated as a head coach, kind of learning on the job. Did not have a collegiate head coaching position prior to this, but I'll tell you what, and I've said it a lot on the show, I'm nothing less than amazed at what he's getting done right now, recruiting-wise, for the reasons I just mentioned, never having been a head coach, number one. Number two, he's coming off of back-to-back 5-7 seasons. It's not exactly what you would think would be driving recruiting, but he's getting it done. The kids that he is recruiting, they're buying what he's selling, and that is unity and one for all. And you can tell that to a man across the board. Everybody's on the same page, and that goes a long way in football when you get everybody on the same page working towards a common goal.
Well, and we know the dynamics that are working against Indiana from a football standpoint. They haven't been to a Rose Bowl since 1968. There have been certainly, pockets of moderate success under Bill Mallory, right, in the 1980s and the 1990s, and, Trent Green and so forth. But, always first and foremost known as a basketball school. I mean, it's just the way it is, and that's the way the state is. And, that's something you got to fight. And then, the facilities, too. That's another issue also, is modernizing some things and keeping up kind of with the Joneses throughout the Big Ten in terms of, having those big splash facilities that the recruits like. You take a look all around the country. Clemson has wading rivers and, basically an amusement park set up in their standalone football facility. Kids like the bells and whistles nowadays, but Tom Allen is doing that, certainly based on another foundation and what he's selling the program.
Yeah, there's been talk of that. You talk about the facilities. Purdue has dumped a lot of money into their football program, and we've talked about this a lot, and here of late it's come up. A lot of money, in Indiana's case, being taken out of athletics to the other side, to the school, which is fine. We just don't know how much that is. And I'd like to know, because Indiana could use an upgrade in a lot of things. I mean, their indoor facility, it's nice to have one, but it's simply a shell, and it's something that they have to share. Their weight room, they have to share that. So they're still not on their own. And you, as a football program, you almost have to have that.
Well, yeah, the Mellencamp Center was built, in 1993? So there's a little bit of an antiquated nature to it now. It's 25, 26 years old. It's not like these new sparkling indoor facilities that you have now throughout the country, where a lot of them have, they're self-contained in terms of, having weight rooms and offices inside them. And, Indiana has done it to have the weight room inside the stadium. And it is nice, I think, but you bring in the sharing aspect of sharing with other athletic programs as well within that.
And it's not that they don't want to share. It's just you're talking about 24 athletic programs. That's a lot of athletes. That's a lot of scheduling. And with school and all that, that's almost impossible to schedule all that for everyone to have a time that's doable. So it makes it difficult. And certainly other programs are not having to deal with that. And it makes a difference. There's a reason that they've done this, and a reason certain programs excel and stay high and some others don't, because talent-wise, Tom Allen's trying to get them there. He has done a remarkable job recruiting over the last couple of years, brought in a lot of new talent. And with that, there's going to be some expectations this year. I've talked. You've got a new offensive coordinator, Kalen DeBoer, who I think has a lot of pieces and a lot of parts and pieces that's going to be beneficial to Indiana having a successful season, because they've got what they need now. Last year, the offensive play calling was a little suspect, let's say, but they weren't as equipped as they are this year. Their quarterback room is going to be a battle, because you've got three good quarterbacks, and it's a good problem to have.
No question. And, you look at their schedule last year, you take a look at those 3 Big Ten games that they lost by one score, by 7 points or less. And that could have completely turned around the season. And some of that comes down to red zone efficiency, too, as we've talked about, the ability to punch in and score those touchdowns instead of settling for field goals. And that certainly was the case throughout the season as well, throughout last season.
Well, I mentioned Kalen DeBoer, the new offensive coordinator, and you mentioned those 3 games they lost by a touchdown or less. His average of going into a new place, and he increases it between 10 and 15 points per game is his average. So if that holds true to form, Indiana could have a very nice season this year.
Yeah, the ability to take shots downfield, too, which is what he talked about in the fall, is something that we'll be able to see. And we saw it a little bit with Peyton Ramsey in the spring game with a 39-yard touchdown pass, really a nicely thrown ball to Fry Frog in that game. Maybe that's a glimpse of things to come, taking some more chances, taking some more shots downfield as opposed to, being conservative and, having that. But, on the flip side with IU, you have to take a look at the running back position, and that's certainly an area of strength, beginning with Stevie Scott, who was the obviously freshman Big Ten player of the year.
Tom Allen is here, of course, for Football Media Day, the Big Ten, also bringing with him 3 players from Indiana. Coy Crunk, Raekwon Jones, and Nick Westbrook will be joining him today. All will be on the dais. They've got a busy schedule. I mean, their schedule starts around 9 this morning, and it doesn't stop. And if you were here in the Chicago Hilton, they've got dais is set up all over the place. There's stages here and there where people will be speaking. It's an organized circus, so to speak.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of Big Ten Media Days, or any of these preseason media days, is you kind of get them in a little bit of a relaxed setting. They'll get to say what they want to say before they kind of focus and get to work. And this is kind of a good time of year to get them to speak about issues on the field and speak about issues off the field, too. I think it's going to be a really fun 2-day event to kind of, figure out what the direction or how they feel, the temperature, the mood that they have in terms of Indiana, football is concerned. And, if they can really take that next step, and get that 6th and 7th win, go to a bowl and kind of build that momentum and maybe contend for an Eastern Conference championship, which is, as a bear with Penn State, Ohio State, and Michigan.
To me, it's the toughest division in college football. Especially when, here the last couple of years when those teams were all ranked highly. It's a tough road to hoe in to be a program like Indiana. You're trying to grow, which they've been trying to grow for a long time, unfortunately. But still, you're on that cycle. You're trying to grow, build the program. It's kind of difficult to do that when you got to play the Rams, the Seahawks, the Patriots, and the Giants, so to speak. It's a crazy division, and there's been talk by some people, and I think they have to look at it again, because this year is just waving the flag these divisions, they're not equal. You've got Penn State, Michigan, Ohio State in the East. Over in the West, they don't even know who's going to win that division. I don't know if there's a team in the West division that's going to be ranked in the top 25.
Well, yeah, and everyone's waiting for Nebraska to come back. I think that's the thing, and that's the hope is that, for competitive balance sake between the two divisions, that Nebraska becomes the Nebraska of old. Now, can that happen? Is Scott Frost the right guy? I think that remains to be seen. Wisconsin, we've seen certainly has had some good teams. They've had some teams that have gone to bowl games. They went to the Orange Bowl 2 years ago and had a strong outfit, and they've got Jonathan Taylor, who's obviously a Heisman candidate. So you have some talent there. I think PJ Fleck, there's thought that maybe Minnesota could emerge. And in Purdue, Jeff Brom is recruiting very well, and you've got Rondale Moore. So I think there's hope that the West will kind of rise a little bit, but the talent is in the East.
Those teams are all good, Kevin, but when you look at teams like Michigan and Ohio State and Penn State, these are bedrocks of college football. And Michigan State is as tough as any team in the West. But those other three teams especially, there's nothing to me that even comes close in the West. Even when Wisconsin has had a good run, they weren't having a run like an Ohio State or a Michigan. So none of those teams over there have done that. I don't know that they can – I don't know that it's possible to balance it out. It just seems to be too top-heavy in the Big Ten East, my personal opinion on that. I just think that it's too much. Every year you've got the championship game that gets won by the East, it seems like. But I think that they need to look at the potential of realignment.
Well, you had the leaders and the legends a few years ago, right?
Oh, gosh, don't bring it up. It's too early. I haven't had my breakfast yet. Yeah,
so you had that before, they tried to separate Michigan and Ohio State in different divisions then, but it's just the way it's worked out for now. We forgot to mention Iowa too. Kirk Ferentz has a pretty strong program there year in and year out. I think the teams in the West are good. They're just not great and they're not deep. I think that's, the big issue with, Penn State, Michigan, and Ohio State. You're talking about very deep programs that year after year can reload and compete because they have that depth of talent that some of the other schools don't have. And Pat Fitzgerald at Northwestern, they're a scrappy program. They were in the Big Ten title game last year. And he's an excellent coach who gets the most out of what he has, with Northwestern being the only private school in the league. It's amazing what he's managed to accomplish over the years in keeping Northwestern competitive as well. So really a lot of teams. I'll be curious to see about, if Nebraska, though, can be that team that they were in the 90s, if they can get back to that. And I think if they can, then it balances it out a little bit because they've got the tradition. They have the guy in Scott Frost who I think they think can bring them back. They've got a pretty good quarterback this year in Adrian Martinez. So it's just a matter of, building that depth and putting the pieces around them.
We'll certainly see. We're coming to you live from the Chicago Hilton. We have moved the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios north. We're in Chicago for the 49th Big Ten Football Media Days, joined by Kevin Brockway. This is Jim Coyle. Hope your day's off to a good start. Hey, don't forget our good friends that have taken care of us and making sure that these broadcasts come to you each and every day. Ryan Shaddy just come on as one of our sponsors. Talk to Tucker. Talk to Ryan. If you're looking for a place to live wherever in the state of Indiana, especially in Bloomington, you need to give Ryan, it's R-Y-N-E now, not Ryan, but Ryan Shaddy, a call, 765-623-9093. That's 765-623-9093. Give him a call if you're looking for a place in the Bloomington or Indiana area. Of course, we're coming to you from the Golf Club Eagle Point Studios here in Chicago at the Chicago Hilton. Reynolds Family Dentistry, also one of our great sponsors that makes these things possible for us to bring this content to you each and every day. Sellersburg, Indiana is where you'll find Reynolds Family Dentistry. They've been serving patients in southern Indiana for over 30 years. Doctors Jay and Roger Reynolds take care of you, your family. Also, Sweetland Sanitation and Waste Removal. We appreciate their support as well in southern Indiana. They've been serving them since 1995. A big day coming up, Kevin. A lot's going on over the next 2 days. 14 teams in the Big Ten, of course. 14 head coaches will be speaking. Once it gets started, it's a snowball. It doesn't stop for several hours. Lots of questions that are going to be asked. Any coaches that you can think of right now that are on the hot seat. The first one that would come to my mind would be Jim Harbaugh. And I don't think you can say hot seat, but the run there's been okay. It's not like it's been bad, but it's been okay. It hasn't been. There's not this run at a national championship yet.
Well, I think what stood in his way his first 4 years, and it's interesting because I kind of did my 5 storyline story this morning, and one of my things was heat on Harbaugh. Is this, and you would think that this is his time to kind of take over the conference from the standpoint of Urban Meyer's gone, and that's been the roadblock, right? He's 0-4 against Ohio State. That's your biggest rival. That's what's preventing you from winning the division. And with Urban Meyer gone at Ohio State now, this is kind of his chance, to really seize the conference, to seize the division. Now you've got James Franklin at Penn State too within the division, and you have whether Jason Day can fill in Meyer's footsteps and expand on what he's done. But this is really, I think, Jim Harbaugh's chance to kind of take over. But you look at what they lost. I mean, the defensive starters, 4 defensive starters that went in the NFL draft. I mean, that's a lot of talent to lose. So I think that's kind of going to be interesting for him to answer to things. And, a lot of those players sat out the Peach Bowl, and Florida, beat Michigan pretty resoundingly in the Peach Bowl 41-15. So a lot of those younger players that stepped in for those defensive starters that, sat out due to the NFL draft, they didn't perform particularly well. So, I think that's a big concern, of course.
The year before that, the Big Ten has a great year in a bowl season. They go 7-1, and the only loss, of course, was Michigan, who was leading that game. I forget. I thought the Big Ten was gonna go 8-0 that year. Man, that would have been a pretty good thing to get done, but they didn't. The Michigan fans, it's how long before they start to really make noise? Because, Harbaugh's a favorite son. He played there. He's a Michigan guy. But that only will last for so long because they want to be fighting for a national championship.
I kind of thought that last year, if Urban had not left, I kind of thought that Harbaugh would consider, maybe making a run back in the NFL, with the Green Bay Packers job being open, with the Indianapolis Colts job being open a couple of years ago. He's a former Colts quarterback. I always kind of thought that if he was frustrated enough about not being able to surpass Ohio State, that maybe he would just, go back to the NFL and give the NFL a try.
Yeah, so we'll certainly find out. And then, you talk about Ohio State being his nemesis. Well, how that brings us to Ohio State and a question with them. They've got a new coach, and when you have transition, we talked about this the other day, and you mentioned it, there's usually always a drop-off, and it doesn't matter how good the program is, and then Ohio State's as good as they come. It's machine-like. How much of a drop-off can we expect there, or any at all for this program?
Well, Ryan Day has never been a head coach. He's had no head coaching experience. To walk into a place like Ohio State without head coaching experience. You think about Jim Tressel, and he paid his dues at Youngstown State, leaving a program. You're talking about Urban Meyer, who coached at Utah, led Utah to an undefeated season. At Florida, won 2 national championships, was at Bowling Green. So he's a guy that had a tremendous –
Dawkins was there.
Yeah, exactly. He's a guy that had a tremendous amount of head coaching experience, going into that job. And so now you have a novice, a guy that's never led or run a program taking over. Now he's been around the program. He's been an offensive coordinator. He's got a very sharp offensive mind. He's going to add some kind of little air raid, wrinkles to Meyer's spread offense. But how is he going to handle both sides of the ball? How is he going to handle the different personalities? I think that's a big question.
All right, let's take a real fast break, and we're going to come back with Tom Allen. Well, actually, Jake's not in there, so yeah, Jake, you want to take a quick break, and we'll come back, and we'll start with Coach Allen, all right? You can just make it a 1-minute one, make it fast. We'll be right back right after this.
There he is.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the golf club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
Welcome back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. We've moved north. We're in Chicago at the Chicago Hilton for the 49th Big Ten Football Media Days, and I couldn't be any more honored to be joined now by Indiana's head football coach, Tom Allen. Coach, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Excited to be here. Looking forward to a great day.
You're becoming old hat at this now, man. This is your third season.
I know.
How has it changed from the first time you came here? What was that first time like?
Well, anytime you do something for the first time, man, my heart was racing. I was so nervous and didn't know what to expect. I looked at the schedule and it just looked jam-packed, and it is. But I was nervous. I really was. But I wanted to enjoy it still. But it's, last year was more comfortable, and even this year you just feel more and more relaxed, a little more, you kind of know what to expect and know what's next. But, it's turned into be a really fun experience. I enjoy it.
I remember one press conference after a game, a particularly tough loss, and somebody was talking about the calls, and you talked about you have to earn those calls. Yeah. Well, you've earned your place here, definitely. And what the job you've been doing recruiting to me is mind-boggling, because first of all, it's never been done at Indiana to the level you're doing it, and to be doing it off of 5 and 7 seasons, you're turning this program around. How are you able to do that? It's just amazing.
Well, it takes a lot of energy. It takes a lot of work from our whole staff, and we got a lot of people that play a huge role in that. But it's building long-term relationships with these families. It's getting them to see the vision for what you're building. And that's what it comes down to. Is because can they buy into the future? And realizing that it takes time to build it the right way. And there's no quick fixes in the Big Ten, because you're playing against such a high quality opponent every single week that we don't go out and really recruit a lot of junior colleges and get a bunch of transfers. I mean, we get guys out of high school and develop them, and that takes time. And so that's why the recruiting piece, we were selling opportunity to come and compete to play, and the vision for breaking through and challenging guys that have the courage and confidence to want to come do that, and you get a chance to get a world-class education, and that helps us a lot, because there's a lot of programs that IU has that are very unique and special, and they have a chance to come here and play at the highest level of college football. And we go across the country. We're not afraid to go wherever it takes to get a guy that wants to be here. We'll start in our home state and work our way out, but I want guys that want to be here. So we're assembling a group of guys with that mindset and with an edge about them, and a great work ethic and a great toughness. And so we're just excited about where we are.
Going by Coach Tom Allen, you had a football head coach. You made some great inroads in Florida. You had ties down there from your previous coaching and whatnot, so that was a little easier, to get accomplished. But now you've moved north. You're pulling guys out of Detroit and hotbeds for Michigan and Michigan State. That's never been done by an Indiana football team.
Well, like I said, we'll go wherever we got to go. I just want to find guys that have the passion to be here, that can make plays and care about school and love to work and love to compete. And Coach Hart's got some strong ties up in that part of the country, and he did a great job building relationships. And we've tried to match up our guys' strengths with where they know people. It's about relationships. Even in recruiting, it's a huge part of the coach to recruiter relationship. I'm talking about the coach being the high school coach, and those individuals trusting us and feeling like that we're creating an environment that they want to send their players to. And so I think that's what you're seeing up there. And then we're going out east and getting some guys from there and recruiting more guys from that area right now. And just like I said, it really, we have a certain area we target, but we find a guy that fits with us. We don't really care where he's from.
And it seems like the players are becoming some of your best recruiters.
They are. But that's where it's really when it becomes powerful, because Coach can say it. He's supposed to say it, and that's kind of something that you expect. But then when it's coming from the players, it's coming from their parents, and it's coming from guys that I had a chance to be with the alumni last night, a bunch of former players, and we now have some guys that I've coached that are coming to these now, and they're our biggest proponents. Guys that are in the program or played in the program, and they truly believe in what we're building, the way we're building it, and so those guys are not bashful on social media to get out there and we tell them, we can't direct them to recruit these guys, but they know that they're only as good as the guys around them, so they're doing a great job recruiting their future teammates.
And I can say for a fact that to a man, these guys are all on the same page, and that's another thing. To get 85, 100, 18, 19, 20-year-old kids on the same page, that's tough. But these guys are. They're locked in.
I believe they are. And our coaching staff would attest to that once we get them here, and the strength staff that's worked with them, especially the new guys, and just the single-mindedness they have to them, and the work ethic that they bring, the focus that they bring. And they're here. They're on a mission, and our guys have bought into what we're building here, and what we're teaching and preaching, and what we expect. And the bottom line is that that's the key. I got to believe, and I've said it from the beginning. If you don't believe, then you just need to don't come here. You need to leave, So that's what we're trying to assemble as a group of a whole football team that believes and a coaching staff that believes, and that's what it takes to win this conference.
I've been putting some pressure on you on the show because I'm looking at what's coming, and I'm like, man, it could be some exciting things this year. The offense, we got a great quarterbacks room. It's great competition. Running backs room, the receivers, and a new offensive coordinator who has done nothing but grow programs. On the offensive side, it's looking very exciting.
Well, I agree, and as you kind of go through and look at our roster, we've not had 3 quarterbacks since I've been here that you feel like are 3 capable guys to lead your team. And you got, like you said, a running backs room that's got a lot of competition, and that's great. Iron sharpens iron. I believe in that. And Stevie Scott's a great player, but he's got to be on his game, and he knows it. Receivers, got a lot of guys there that can make plays, and with D. Hale and Nick Westbrook, the 2 lone seniors, those guys are really the leaders of the group, but has a lot of different guys that want the ball and can do something with it when they get it. We got some tight ends I really like, and the O-line is anchored by 3 seniors, that really Coy and Simon and Hunter, that just big, strong guys that care a whole lot about this program. So, I really like what Kalen's doing. Obviously it'll be revealed once we start playing games, but I just love the history of what he's done, the place he's been. He's followed a very similar path that I did, and known him for a long time. He's won everywhere he's been. He's been in some tough places where he's had to be creative, and he had to do some things to create those yards and points and opportunities for your offense. And I like that because I think that's kind of what we have to be able to do here, And so bottom line is he has a long track record of winning, and he's a high character guy. He's a great husband and father, and like a really, really quality person. So he fits with us, and I'm excited to see him get to work.
Coach, you mentioned Stevie Scott, some preseason accolades this week. How do you think he'll handle that?
Relax. He can't, sit back on his success he had last year and think that's going to do anything for him this year. It may give him some confidence, but it doesn't do anything in regards to production. So you got to be focused every single day. And so I believe that the kind of character that he has and the way he's worked this summer, the way he's worked this offseason, because he came to us last year, and he got here late because he had a late graduation from high school out east where he's from. And so he wasn't with us very long, so had like about 1 month with us in the summer, and then he ends up beating our starting tailback pretty quickly. So, really never had a chance to he had injury his senior year of high school, so he really didn't get to play a lot of senior year. So I just think this whole offseason has really allowed him to get bigger and stronger and more confident in what he's doing. So, but I just think the room and the chemistry in the room, the guys have great, camaraderie, and even though they're competing for the same spots, they know we have one common goal, and that's to break through on game day. So I think that he, it's a great coach. It's going to keep him grounded, and he's humble and hungry, and the guys around him will keep him sharp.
Well, with him and Sampson and Ronnie Walker and Winters, I mean, you really have 4 guys that you can kind of share the load a little bit.
Yeah, don't forget about Cole Guest.
Yeah,
and Cole's a guy that has been plagued with injuries, but has a burst that's different than the rest of those guys. And so I'm really excited. I think, and all the guys that you mentioned, have opportunities to compete and play. So yeah, it's a group that's got some depth. I'm telling you, every year I've been in this conference, you need a bunch of running backs, and it's a physical league, and they're going to get hit hard, and they're going to deliver a lot of big hits, but we're going to need all of them.
And you talk about Cole Guest. Not only does he bring a different dynamic to that backfield, but he's the oldest guy in the room. That's a very young group you got in there.
Yeah, there's no doubt. There's no seniors, and he's the oldest one, and I know that he brings a lot of experience and just a maturity to his work ethic. He's an extremely focused young man, and he works as hard as anybody on our football team, and just so driven. And so I just want it so bad for him, because I know how hard he worked last year, and then he had the injury, but he's back, so it's just, and he does bring a different skill set to that group. He's not quite as big as some of them, but very, very fast and can catch the ball really well out of the backfield. And we're going to utilize that part of our game as well, probably more so than we have in the past. And so I'm excited about that group of guys for sure.
Before Tom Allen arrived in Indiana, you couldn't say Indiana defense in the same sentence, hardly. And man, oh man, did you make a change there? You've stepped back a little bit as far as the coordinator duties, but your tradition continues on. What are you expecting on that side of the ball this year?
Well, I expect us to be better. We played a lot of freshmen last year. 10 that were in the rotation. We played even some additional ones that played within the 4-game rule for still redshirting. So a lot of youth last year, and it was tough at times, because when you're playing freshmen in the Big Ten, that's not ideal, especially that many. But those guys all got to play, so to me, it's a very deep group. I mean, we got competition at every position. We've never had it like this since I've been here. And I just know that, year one as head coach, our defense was top 25. But we had no depth. It was really a problem. And I was concerned about it going in, and it proved to be a real issue. And those guys were good players. They just got tired, And so then last year we had depth, but it was really young. And so now that depth is a year older, and so that freshman class last year, which now they're, some redshirt freshmen and true sophomores or redshirt sophomores, that makes up a big chunk of our defense. And we just want to keep guys rolling in, where we're back to saying where I believe we need to have the goal of being a top 25 defense. And that's my expectation for that group. And Coach Womack has that same vision, and it's going to be I'm going to be very involved. I'm not going to call the defense, but I'll be very strongly involved in the game plan, and then the passion with which we play with will not change. Matter of fact, I thought we even played with even more intensity in the spring, and just became another group of guys that are just a year older, year more confident, in the system and playing with a different speed. And we've recruited speed, and that speed's getting older, and that's not going to change. We're going to keep guys that can run and hit and love to play the game, So to me, it's just about, 60 minutes of sick of football on defense, and just keep rolling guys in that keep them fresh. We're going to play a whole bunch of guys, and now those guys are a lot more experienced.
Health-wise, how are you going into camp? And is Mike Penix going to be cleared for full contact?
He'll be cleared for full contact, and he won't be getting hit much. None of the quarterbacks will during fall camp, but he'll be cleared, and he's had a really good summer, as all those guys have. And from an injury perspective, Jacoby Hewitt was injured over the summer, and that was put out, but other than that, we expect everybody to be full bore, and you'll always have a few little soft tissue things sometimes coming out of summer, but nothing long term that we expect. And so the expectation is that our guys come to fall camp, and which will be here in 2 weeks, and ready to go. So we're excited to get everybody back, and injuries are part of the game, so we'll see what happens in the future. But right now, we're pretty good.
You've talked about kind of pushing this team, though, in August and really making it a hard camp. Have you kind of formulated that, and
Sure.
How important is that going to be to kind of get ready for the season?
One thing that's unique about this camp is it's actually a week longer than since I've been here. We've always had 2 weeks of true camp, and then school starts. Well, this year we have actually 3, because school starts a week later, which is just the way the calendar came. So that gives us 1 extra week of preparation. So really excited about that. I think it's really good for our team, because we are still very young. But it's going to be a tough camp, for sure. And don't know what the weather's going to be like. Don't really care. We'll just adjust to it. But bottom line is that it's going to be physical, and we're going to practice hard. We only do 1 a day now. That's where everybody's in the same boat with that. And we call them walkthroughs the first 5 days, and jog throughs, and from practice 6 on in the evenings. But there's never 2 full practices 1 day. But they there's no question it's still camp, and it's a grind mentally and physically, and we'll have a lot of meetings, and we'll make sure we're mentally where we need to be, mentally and physically tough is what you got to have in this conference.
You've got 3 quarterbacks. We all know about 3 good ones going into the camp. What do they have to show you to get that number 1 job?
Yeah, and that's it's going to be a challenging decision, because of the talent that those guys have, and so what, at the end of the day, and you try to make it as simple as possible, and that is, who can move the team down the field? Who do the players believe in? They have to. That quarterback has to win the team. They really do. And I'm talking about defense, offense, special teams. You have to feel like, man, when that guy steps on the field, if there's time left on that clock and we got the ball, we got a chance to go win. And that, to me, what I'm looking for. So you're going to be looking at. But we'll chart everything. We'll be very detailed in completion percentage, and as we do, 2-minute drills during practice, and live goes in practice, and moving the ball down the field during practice, and who's able to do that the most effectively, and who's the most accurate getting the ball to the receivers, and creating the explosive plays that we know we need to create, and at the end of the day, scoring points. That's really what it comes down to. Our offense last year did a lot of good things. We ran the ball really well, and we threw the ball accurately for the most part, but didn't create enough explosive plays and didn't create enough points, and so that to me was the two key things. And those don't mean just long bomb passes, but the explosive plays have to come in chunks, because it's hard to just, systematically move the ball against these defenses in the Big Ten every game. And so creating those opportunities, that's why those, that stat is such a big deal. The turnover ratio, which is the offense and defense component put together, and the explosive play ratio, those two components, when those two come together and you win both of those, you're going to win 90% of your games. So that's what we're looking for, is the guy that can do that.
How close to kickoff of that August 31st game will you go before that decision is made?
You really don't know, and I'm probably not going to give it an exact date, but you obviously have to know the week before. You want to be able to go that last week where you say, hey, this is the guy, he's taking all the reps, So hopefully after a couple weeks, 2 to 3 weeks in the fall camp, you're going to make a decision, I would imagine. And so, but in all fairness to everybody involved, but it'll be an interesting battle. I love that, but and I'll say this again, Peyton Ramsey's a returning starter. He's the guy they got to beat out, and so he's earned that, and I have a ton of respect for him.
And you've done a great job, obviously, building these relationships. But when you have to make that decision, the biggest selling job you may have to do is to the other 2 guys that don't get that job.
That's true, and that's probably the thing you look forward to the least about fall camp, So, but that's part of being I got a little sign on my desk that says the buck stops here, and that's the bottom line. I got to make those tough decisions and own that, and I will, and I'll sit down with those guys. And that's probably the hardest. The kid that gets the job, he's going to be all fired up, and then the other 2, you got to just explain and see the big picture, and the reality is it's a long season, and shoot, you just never know. Anything can happen, and the other guys got to be ready to go. And I'll say it all. We're going to need them all. I just done this too long to know that there's too many things can happen, and they all got to be prepared. And there's going to be coming time and place, whatever their role happens to be, they need to be ready to step up and play when called upon.
All the tough things that having to be a head coach. When you became a head coach, how long was it until it really dawned on you that I head coach in the Big Ten? I'm here.
Well, it happened so fast that it really was kind of a blur in the beginning. That happened, and we're out recruiting. We're getting ready for a bowl game, go coach the bowl game, and go back and recruit, sign class. It was probably when I stepped here, that first Big Ten Media Day, and we sat there, and there was all 14 head coaches taking a picture together. I was like, holy cow, I'm one of these 14, and so because you kind of have a chance to just step back and be like, wow, I'm really blessed. So, yeah, it was, back because of the way that it happened, it was probably took a while to figure it all out and really realize that, but right now I feel like, hey, let's go, ready.
Who's the coaches that you've looked up to, that you've learned from, that you've taken a lot of what you do from?
Sure. I would say there's 2 that kind of stick out. Mark D'Antonio is one that it's kind of really been a great, friend and mentor in a lot of ways. We don't sit down and have lengthy conversations, but always respected the way he did things, in his program, and how they're being a defensive guy too, and being a defensive head coach, and the way their defense always played consistently year after year, and the program that they built, just the consistency, the toughness, and just kind of, we want to have a similar program, and he's always kind of pulled me aside at times and encouraged me, and has been a guy that I really respect and appreciate. And Pat Fitzgerald's another one, guy, another guy, similar defensive guy, played linebacker, kind of built like I am in regards to mindset and how we want to do things. And just to be at a place that, has not had long-term success, has high academics, and to see, it's his home too. There's a lot of similarities, and he's been there a long time, and he's built it systematically. So and he and I talk, and I'll ask him questions and different things. I mean, we're obviously in different divisions, so we don't play each other every year. But I just really respect what he's done there and the way he's done it, and how long it's taken him. But he's been, a kind of a example of grit, which is our one word for 2019. So those two guys stick out to me.
Coach, we're looking forward to the season. I can't wait to get started. August 31st, Ball State, Lucas Oil Stadium. It's a big opening.
Yes.
You guys always do things big, it seems like. Looking forward to that. But cannot thank you enough for joining us today.
Appreciate it,
Wish
Jim.
you the
Thank
best
you
of
so
luck,
much.
man. Best
Appreciate
luck this season. Thank you.
Coach, thank you.
We'll be back and forth on the Indiana Sports Beat right after this.
All right.
Then the supreme best. Do not obey. You must be safe, but you can pass the test. Just move on.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the golf club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make it tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moye.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lord, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day, or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. For the best recycling and waste removal service, turn to the area's leader, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling serves Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. For excellent service and peace of mind, call Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling today at 812-944-5642. That's 812-944-5642. Keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling.
All across the country, people are coming together to speed up what we can learn about health. The All of Us Research Program is calling on 1 million people to join us as we try to change the future of health. For your family, for future generations, for all of us. Visit joinallofus.org and find out how you can become 1 in a million.
All right, crew, let's get her dug.
Honey, you want to give me a hand? I'm planting that tree, remember?
No matter how large or small your digging project may be, no matter how urban or rural, you must always call 811 before any digging project. 811 is our national one-call number, alerting your local utility companies to come out and mark any lines they have near your dig site. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 business days before any digging project, so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. This includes natural gas and petroleum pipelines, electric, communication cables, and water and sewer lines. So before you do this or this, make sure you do this. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811. Brought to you by Common Ground Alliance.
Welcome back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios North as we are in Chicago Hilton. The 49th Big Ten Football Media Days. Joined by Kevin Brock from CNHI. Just got done talking with Indiana head football coach Tom Allen. Great conversation. We'll have that complete interview up in the next hour as well. But we'll have the players on tomorrow. No telling who all we're going to end up having on tomorrow, but we'll look forward to that. Got a few minutes left here, and then we're going to start the next hour, Kevin. How's it been so far, bud?
Well, no, I think, some interesting takeaways, right, from talking to Tom Allen in terms of the direction of the program and how he wants to, camp challenging for these kids. And, obviously Michael Penix being cleared for full contact is, a little newsy. So he'll be ready to go with Jack Tuttle and Peyton Ramsey in that quarterback race.
That means it's on, man. And he talks about iron sharpens iron. He mentioned that Peyton Ramsey he's the de facto leader right now. He's the leader of the clubhouse, but that's because he's the incumbent. They've got to beat him out. And so we'll look forward to that. But I asked him, what's he going to really have to show him? And, getting the ball down the field, putting points on the board. That's what it comes down to. But, hey, we got a lot more coming up here. The Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios North. We're at the Big Ten Football Media Days in Chicago. I'm joined by Kevin Brockway. This is Jim Coyle. We'll be back with more right after this.